Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever anybody is at this point. Last year, in a conversation with some folks, I decided that we would start a series called Walking in the Way with Bishop José. And the idea was that I would spend time talking with people around the diocese, lay and ordained, and hear about their walk with God, their faith stories, not only to learn more about each other, but also how God has worked in their lives. And so last summer, I approached a friend named Pam to be the first guest. And after I finally promised her that I would give her a special place in heaven, a direct pass all the way through, she said yes. So It's my pleasure to introduce the first guest, Pam Stone. So let me tell you a little bit about Pam. To say she is talented is probably an understatement. She is a comedian who has performed stand-up comedy for a very long time, just about everywhere. I understand that you're actually one of the few comedians that has actually performed at the White House.
You betcha, baby.
There you go. And she's appeared on The Tonight Show, Oprah Winfrey, Joan Rivers, Comic Strip Live, which I used to love. Showtime comedy specials. You won the Best Female Stand-Up, the American Comedy Award. And
yes,
you
sir.
had a syndicated radio show.
Yes, sir. And I'm also available for light roofing repair.
Hold on to that thought because we'll need it. You've won awards in radio, and you've also authored 2 books. And then the one which I love, which I love some of the stories out of, is I Love Me a Turkey Butt Sandwich, not sandwich, right?
Yeah,
it's
sandwich.
Sandwich. And that she's also a syndicated columnist for a variety of newspapers. But most people would recognize you from 7 seasons of the ABC hit comedy Coach, which, by the way, is one of the best sitcoms. And she played Coach Watkins, who I've told her before that one of the best parts of that series was the constant headbutting between her character and Craig T. Nelson's Coach Fox. It's one of the best parts of that whole series. And also she is a horse enthusiast.
I'm going to hire you as my PR guy. I got to tell you, I'm listening to my intro and I'm like, Jesus, I'm kind of important. I sound like
you are.
That's not a bad. That's not a bad career. Yeah, that's not so bad there. Yeah,
but
and
that's not all.
Yeah, what?
That's not all. Last, and maybe in my opinion, a little bit more important, she's an Episcopalian and a member in this diocese, and she's a parishioner at Holy Cross and Tryon. And so because of the virus, she is joining us live via Zoom satellite, all the way 30 miles away from where I'm sitting, from her funny farm. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Pam Stone. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Please sit down. Stop it. You're embarrassing me. Oh, you're going to the bathroom. That's all right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just give me a minute. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, what a glowing introduction. That's lovely. Thank you.
So, how are you holding up in this quarantine?
I'm flawless. I'm doing fine. I've baked a lot of bread that I've posted photos of on Facebook. So I've been following that law. And I've also posted my senior picture seen here, which didn't get as many likes as I was hoping. But I wanted to be a part of what everybody else was doing.
Hey, so I'm curious because you're from Georgia. You were born in Georgia.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, you told me you left Kennesaw State College as a junior to go to Hollywood.
Going into my junior year to go do stand-up because I was putting myself through college. So I was cocktail waitressing at a comedy club in Sandy Springs, Georgia, the Punchline, which it was the premier club of the South. It was incredible. And I'd be watching these guys come through, mostly guys, some women, but that was, we'd see Jay Leno come through twice a year. You'd see Seinfeld come through twice a year. Some incredible names coming through, Larry Miller, Dennis Miller, people that Paul Reiser. There was a funny time when Richard Pryor was doing the Fox in Atlanta, and we were able to get him to come in and just stick his head in, just do a couple of minutes on stage. And of course, as advertising for the club. and people were screaming. And when he left, he was standing out in the parking lot, and we shared our parking lot with a jazz club that was right next door to us. And he looked around and he said, I think I own this building. And I thought, if I could like come up with like 15 minutes of material, maybe I could go as like an opening act and make a few extra bucks each month, to support my writing, my horse thing. So that's how it all started. And then lo and behold, I'm getting booked, my first gigs on the road were opening for Leno for 3 weeks and all this stuff. And so I'm like, the kinfolk said, Jed, move around from here. So, so I got out of there.
But who were, I'm just curious, because back, at that point, I mean, who were other women in comedy?
I mean, there were very few. There was like maybe 1 out of 100 comics were women. And so they were all kind of New York Jewish chicks. And there wasn't a big bird from the South. And I thought, I'll take that slot. This tall, skinny Southern chick, I'll take that slot. And I did. And the punchline at that point was franchised to 13 other cities throughout the Southeast. So the day that I decided to do stand-up, and I did open mics for 6-7 months before I had the material that was strong enough to get booked. I never had a day job. From the first gig that I took, I worked full-time.
I went to some countries I'd never been to before. I went to Germany. I don't know if you guys have ever been over there. This is the stupidest country. This is a country where they serve you beer in liter-sized mugs and encourage you to drive as fast as possible, man. Oh, man!
Were you raised in any church?
In the Episcopal Church. I'll tell you where.
You were?
Yeah, through my mother. My father was not an attendee. But my mother, we went to Holy Innocents in Georgia, which, of course, Bob Johnson was our rector. Correct. Way back then.
Previous bishop here, absolutely.
Previous bishop, and my mother and every woman there had such a crush on him because, he was so, not that you're not great looking, but, Robert looked like a movie star. You
it's funny.
Imagine him in his 30s, and he would have that charismatic smile. He'd be on stage, and you would just see the women.
This episode is just now going to shoot through the roof now because of that commentary about, let me tell you, there's a portrait. The portraits hang out in this office, and Bob's picture is the first one I see when I walk out of my office, and it's typical Bob, smiling, and so I always greet him every morning, and I say, "Good morning, smiling Bob."
Oh yeah,
because it's that award-winning smile.
Hollywood
and,
smile.
I get together with him at least once a month to have lunch, and he's just a deer. So
he's a deer, and he's always been a deer. And every now and then you meet people of God that as soon as you see them, before they open their mouth, before you have any idea that they have anything to do with the church, there is, don't you agree with this? There is this radiance, and it's not just because of his beatific smile, but there is this radiance that has always come from that man. And I think of a friend of mine, Sharon Decker, who has the same thing. You hear about the glow of when women are pregnant. There is a glow of spirituality that I've seen, I think, twice in my life. And he is that, and he is that. And Jimmy Stewart was the other one. That's another good story.
If I have it right, you were seen in a comedy club. And you were approached actually to have your own sitcom about being a congresswoman from Atlanta, right? And it's set in Washington, D.C. Isn't that right?
Yeah, they wouldn't. Yeah, they weren't. I wasn't offered the gig. It was two producers, a coach, and they saw me at the Ice House in Pasadena. And they were writing this sitcom about a Southern woman who goes to Washington. They asked if I was interested in coming in to read for it, which, of course, and the funny thing was they were there to see the comedian before me, and she bombed. And she was really cute, from Texas or something, really pretty little girl. And then I came on right after her and just kicked ass. And it was just a hot club, hot crowd. And then they came and asked that afterwards. And we're like, well, of course we're interested. And they said, okay, cool. Well, we'll be in touch because we can't work on it until we're done writing the show that we're doing now. And I said, well, what's that? And they said, oh, it's just a mid-season replacement. It's called Coach. And I said, I haven't heard of it. And they said, yeah, you and the rest of America never heard of it. We got 3 more episodes to write. And so that's what Coach had been, was just a mid-season replacement to take the place of something that had been canceled. And then when this is when comedian Jackie Mason had that resurgence in his career, and he had that one-man show on Broadway, and all of a sudden he was huge. And so Hollywood said, okay, we're going to write a sitcom because he's so big and relevant right now, with him and Lynn Redgrave, from the Weight Watcher commercials, and Georgie Girl from way back with her flaming red hair. We're going to make her Roman Catholic, and we'll have this nebbishly Jewish guy, and we're going to call it Chicken Soup, and it'll be a sitcom about these two people. And it was supposed to be the next huge Roseanne. Roseanne was #1 in the country at the time. So they put Chicken Soup on after it, and Hollywood forgot that middle America really had no idea who Jackie Mason was, or were interested in his type of humor, didn't relate. It bombed. They gave it 2 weeks to work, canceled it, and then Coach, being a mid-season replacement, got shoved in there, and we were #2 like overnight.
So I have to ask, because in that sitcom you had a very, as I say, aggressive Southern drawl.
Yeah.
Because you have no accent. I mean, British or Southern.
Well, I do if I have a couple of Jack Daniels. My heart's a lot harder. Like, Jose.
Where did you?
So when I auditioned for the part, they said, can you, and I went in with my normal voice, and I had worked really hard to lose my accent, because I do have a little bit of an accent, and I worked really hard to lose that so that I could go up for other roles, so you wouldn't be just seen
typecast as right.
Southern.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and if I had an audition coming up, Jose, I wouldn't even take phone calls from my girlfriends back in the South, because as well as I do,
you start getting into that.
You start getting that accent, and they'd call, and I'm like, I can't talk to her right now. I got to tell you something. I got to tell you, no, don't go. I have to tell you, you're not going to believe this. I can't talk to you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I can't get in a phone call. You're just becoming a snob, Pam. I can't believe you won't even take our phone calls. You're just on TV and you're a snob. I'm like, no, all right. Tell me what? Ricky and Tammy are getting married. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I just knew it happened. And so all this, and then I got to work 2 weeks to lose it again. So I go on and I do the audition, and then Barry and the producer said, that's really funny. Can you be more Southern? And I just looked at him. I looked at him. I said, I'm not sleeping with my cousin. And that was it. I got the part. And they just fell over, and they were like, all right, you got it.
I can see why you love the Episcopal Church so much.
Oh yeah.
Because of, you were experiencing things that most of the country hadn't. It took time, for the rest of the country to kind of have a more diverse understanding of people, and the fact that God does work in a lot more ways than I think we often want to.
You go from being in a nice suburb where you never really see poverty to seeing the same homeless people on the streets. Because you live in a county of 18 million people, you're going to see homeless people. That's just the way it is. And then you see the way the Episcopal Church would work with those people and work down on Skid Row, and the people that fall through the cracks, the cracks, the people with mental illness and drug addicts. And so you come from a place, immediate place of compassion for those people, because you interact with those people and you see those people. You see those people talking to themselves. You see those people behaving in manners that could be terrifying. Have you never been exposed to that? If you've never been outside a gated community or a rural community and stared at poverty in the face and seeing the eyes of Christ within people that are really ill and addicted, you go immediately from a blame of well, this is what happens when this, and to much more of a place of how can we help this person, these people now.
Well, Pam, you're a delight. I adore you. Thank you.
You're so welcome, and I think your hair looks great.
What you don't know is that the camera can't see is there's a massive man bun. It is pulled so far back that it's a man bun back there. You have the man bun? I got the tail, but I don't have the... I'm just teasing you.
But I like to poof, because now it's getting real Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Fever. Just chew on this. We know that regular attendance in churches around the world is declining. But for the first time, I'm thinking with all of these churches, although these services have been canceled for our own protection and our own health, I'm thinking it's going to result in a larger congregation as a byproduct just from people who haven't been able to attend before that find out about a church for the first time through online. All right, man. Best
Take care of yourself. God bless you.
Take care.